Colin McRae and the Ford Focus have had an up and down year in '99.
We give it a go.
McRae came to the Rally of Great Britain under the media spotlight, but just what is involved behind the scenes on a rally for a driver? Here at a pre-event show for the fans, it's non-stop for McRae. Before attending the obligatory FIA press conference with other luminaries like Dave Richards, Martin Brundle and Bruno Thierry, these things happen on every rally of the WRC, and there's a huge fine for being late or for failing to show. But even in the press office afterwards, the autographs continue to be handed out to the adoring British fans. Some drivers find this all a pain, but nowadays it's absolutely essential with the growth of the WRC and the bigger pay packets they get from the manufacturers.
Colin? You doing? Good, yourself? Yeah, not bad. All powered up?
Day one of the Rally of Great Britain starts early for Ford. Outside the hotel, the mechanics are taking down the tyre pressures that were pumped up to a maximum overnight to show up any leaks. The gravel note crews are already going through the stages, and the team must have all possible combinations ready for McRae and teammates Rodstrom and Solberg. A brand new £400,000 Ford Focus is given the final touches from the mechanics as the sun slowly rises over their chilly working environment. The car has already done some mileage after runs over a shakedown stage 2 days before, where FIA registered teams and drivers have the opportunity to set up a new car over a short gravel track, ironing out any gremlins. Just enough fuel is put in, and Colin McRae appears from the warmth of the hotel breakfast room to greet the mechanics as the final chapter of the '99 World Rally Championship gets underway. Co-driver Nicky Grist tests the all-important intercom. Meanwhile, Colin checks his brand new helmet with its integral intercom system. Ready now for the 1,200-mile 22-stage Rally of Great Britain. So they leave the car park, making their way from Gloucester to the first stage at Cheltenham Racecourse. These Sunday spectator special stages, Mickey Mouse though they may be, can easily catch people out. On the very first stage, Colin makes a mistake on the slippery surface, but that didn't stop him being just 1.7 seconds off the best time. With no service allowed until the fourth stage, they have to continue on the road section, following the highway code, of course. The crews pass through some of the most English of villages during the rally, giving the fans a chance to come out and see the cars close up as they stop at the traffic lights. Yet another example of how rallying really is a people's sport. After stage 2 at Cornbury Park, McRae was beginning to realise that his tyre choice for the opening 4 tests wasn't working. The biting cold coming in through the shattered window can't have helped. At the end of stage 3 at Silverstone, the teams would use the Formula 1 garages to service, and they were already preparing a new door, both for McRae and for Rodstrom.
We've actually got 2 doors now because Colin damaged one door, which we had with us anyway. The other door, we didn't have another spare door, so we've had to pinch it off one of our show cars, which is in the Ford VIP suite. So there's a car over there without a door at the moment.
McRae arrives with just 20 minutes to service the car. Plus, there's the problem with the gearbox and, of course, that door.
Just hit a hay bale, very slippy, hit the hay bale.
Colin takes time to catch up with mum Margaret, his father and pace notes man Jimmy, and his wife Alison. 7 British and 1 World Championship titles standing in that group. All of this goes on as the mechanics work feverishly. This is where they really earn their money, though at least at Silverstone they are in the dry. Some, though, of the team talks are private. Tyre choice for the first stages wasn't really up to the pace, and that left the former world champion in 9th spot overall. So Nicky Grist and Jimmy McRae, who is gravel noting, discuss what's best for the remaining stages, but it's never easy.
Colin's decision was made and the tyres are on the car. It's when you've got both drivers still thinking about what they want to do, and you've only got 2 or 3 minutes to get them ready.
But your preparations this morning have covered you for all eventualities?
Yeah, covered for all eventualities, yeah. It's just when they suddenly, the tyres are on the car and all of a sudden they change their mind and they've got to come back off. That's when it can become an issue.
You don't use tyre warmers?
Yes, we have the harder compound. Depends on the compound and whether we use the warmers. Okay.
Yep.
The decision comes through for the tyres to go onto Colin's car. It's been a particularly tough service for the Ford squad.
We all have our little bits. Yeah. That way it goes a lot smoother then. Unfortunately, we wasn't quite ready, but we did it in time.
Everything's packed away quickly and the trucks move on to the final service of the day in Cheltenham. The cars go to Blenheim Palace, then return to Silverstone for the Super Special over the 1.2-mile Roger Clark circuit. With thousands watching, it's a battle of the Brits, Richard Burns versus Colin McRae. But in the end, Burns clinches it by a couple of car lengths. As the day comes to an end, the cars have to travel another 63 miles back to Cheltenham for the last stage of the day and the final 45-minute service.
Interesting start to the day, all under control though.
Yeah, it's not been ideal, but it's not been bad either. We've had a couple of problems, but the real rally starts tomorrow.
Never a truer word said after just 9% of the stage mileage completed on the first day. Colin and Nicky are in 8th overall. Early morning, the first stage in Radnor Forest, and literally tens of thousands of people out on the stages, such is the popularity of the event. But at times, they cause huge problems for the drivers as McRae prepares for stage 10 at Escadavid.
A lot of people in that first stage this morning on day 2, one of the most difficult of the year.
Yeah, it was for spectators' safety. It was the worst stage we've done this year. It was incredible. It was just, normally here the spectators are fairly sensible, but I mean obviously they're all enthusiastic and they're out supporting us. But I mean that only hinders us. You can't concentrate when there's people standing in the road like that. It would be far better if they would just keep back out the way.
During the interview, co-driver Nicky Grist discovers a slow puncture.
So what had it gone down to?
It's gone down to 1.5 bar. It should have been showing about 2.3, 2.4 bar. So I'll just put a bit of air in it here and see.
In the end, everything's okay. They start the 5.4 mile stage in top form. They close to within 3 seconds of Carlos Sainz, who's 4th overall. And even with that deflating tyre, McRae is just 8 seconds slower than the fastest man through the test, Richard Burns. Leaving Bulthwell's service for the final stages of day 2, McRae's back up to 4th overall, clawing his way up the order. Into stage 15, the second Meheran, and a right-hander over a crest is catching people out. But worst was to fall McRae as he arrived on the scene.
Into 3 left opens. Into 6 right minus. 50. 6 right over crest opens long. 30.
Well, Colin had another big accident last night, a 6th gear job over a blind crest. And unfortunately there was another car that was already off the road from the previous time through the stage. And did quite a lot of, well, extensive damage to the car. But they're both okay, but it's certainly a different end to the season in relation to what we had at the early part of the season.
So the Martini 14 was left to 10 Thomas Rodstrom's sister car, and they were hoping that this would stay the right way up. Rodstrom was 9th on day 3, eventually getting 6th by the finish, but the highlight of his year was 3rd position on the Swedish rally. The team were also running Peter Solberg and Phil Mills. They came through for another top 10 finish. 10th place, their first time together on the event. There's certainly more to come from the Norwegian in the future. His 6th place on the tough Safari rally shows that. So although the season for McRae, Grist and Ford finished among the trees in Wales, the year will be remembered for their fantastic wins on the Safari and in Portugal. The Ford Focus will definitely be a contender in 2000. You'll be able to see every event in the World Rally Championship on Eurosport. Nightly reports every day, starting with the Monte Carlo Rally, January the 20th to the 23rd, and finishing in November with Rally Great Britain.